Welcome to Creata classes. In this lecture, we will cover slopes of a line. The slope of a line is a vast topic. This will be a long lecture. So we have divided this lecture into some sub-lectures. These will be the sub-lectures. So this is the first lecture. In this lecture, we will cover the introduction to the slope and the basic formula of the slopes of a line. So let's move to the lecture. Before studying what actually the slope of a line is, firstly we will study what is the inclination of a line. So the definition is that the angle theta made by the line L with positive direction of x-axis and measured anti-clockwise is called the inclination of the line. For understanding this, we have to take our coordinate system. Here, let's assume a line L. This is a line L. And this line is making angle theta with the x-axis. This angle theta is known as inclination of the line. That is, the inclination of this line is theta. Basically, what is this theta? Theta is the angle that this line makes with the positive x-axis. This is very important. It is positive x-axis and this angle theta is measured anti-clockwise from the positive x-axis. Okay? If we take a new line, say L dash, then this angle will be theta, that is, this angle will be the angle of inclination. This angle will not be the angle of inclination. Only the angle which is made from the positive x-axis and which is measured anti-clockwise. Okay, got it. So you have understood what is the inclination of the line. This is basically the angle. This angle will lie between 0 degree and 180 degree. The range of this angle theta is from 0 degree to 180 degree. Once it exceeds 180 degree, the line will again start from 0 degree, as we are measuring this angle theta from positive x-axis in anti-clockwise direction. So after 180 degree, there will be no inclination angle, that is 181 degree. The range of theta is from 0 to 180 degree only. Once it crosses the 180 degree, the line will again start from 0 degree. Are you able to visualize the same? This 0 degree line and this 180 degree line is basically the same line. Okay, they are overlapping with each other. Now a small question for you. What is the inclination of x-axis and y-axis? This is a question. So the answer is that inclination of x-axis is 0 degree and inclination of y-axis is 90 degree. The angle from the x-axis to the x-axis is 0 and the angle from x-axis to y-axis is 90 degree. So this is the answer. So let's move further. Our next concept is the slope. Slope is also known as gradient of the line. Let's see what it is. If theta is the inclination of a line L, then tan theta will be called the slope or the gradient of the line L. So theta is the inclination of a line and tan theta is the slope of the line. Suppose the line is making angle of 45 degree with the plus x-axis. So we can say the slope of this line will be tan 45 degree, that is 1. So let's take some example. If the inclination of line is 30 degree, what will be the slope of this line? The slope will be equal to tan 30 degree. Okay, got it. Slope is tan theta. Here theta is 30 degree. So we got slope of this line as tan 30 degree. Similarly, what will be the slope if theta is 50 degree? Then the slope will be tan 50 degree. Okay, got it. Slope is tan theta. Moving further, this slope is denoted as small m. So we got the formula of slope as m is equal to tan theta. This is the basic formula of the slope. As we move into the course of this lecture, we will develop some more formulas of the slope of the line. But this formula, that is m is equal to tan theta, is the very basic formula of the slope of the line. Based on this formula only, you can solve many questions. Okay, so this is a basic formula and you should know it. This was the introduction to the slope. Let's move further and study it in further detail. Let's take a line L. The inclination of this line is 0 degree. So we can say slope of this line is tan 0 degree, that is 0. Further, if we rotate this line at an angle of 30 degree with respect to the plus x-axis, its slope will be tan of 30 degree, that is 1 by root 3. It will come to something like 0.57. If we further rotate this line to angle of 45 degree, its slope will change to tan of 45 degree, that is 1. Further increasing the angle, its slope will further increase. So we got an observation. That is, if we keep on increasing the angle of inclination, the slope will keep on increasing. And at tan 90 degree, it will be positive infinity if we are moving from 0 degree towards the 90 degree. It is basically not defined. Totally a different concept of tan function, already covered in the trigonometry lecture. Okay, so not going into the detail of this concept. Just you should know that the value of tan 90 degree is plus infinity as well as negative infinity. So the value of tan 90 degree is not defined. So we got the observation that slope from 0 degree to 90 degree increases from 0 to positive infinity. It is basically increasing. So let's move further. This concept that we have just studied is for the value of theta ranging from 0 degree to 90 degree only. The concept will be slightly different when the theta range from 90 degree to 180 degree. So let us understand the concept of theta ranging from 90 degree to 180 degree. How it is different from our first concept, that is the concept from 0 to 90 degree. If we further rotate this line at an angle of 180 degree, then what will be the slope of this line? The slope will be tan 180 degree. That will be equal to 0. Are you able to observe tan 180 degree and tan 0 degree? It is basically the same line. So slope of this line will be equal to 0. Moving further, so what will be the slope of the line with inclination of 135 degree? The slope will be tan 135 degree. And we know tan 135 degree is negative 1. If we further rotate this line towards the positive 90 degree, its slope will further decrease. Like at 180 degree, the slope is 0. Further, as we decrease the angle, its slope decreases to minus 1. Further, moving toward the 90 degree, its slope further decreases to minus 10, then further to minus 100, and at tan 90 degree, it is negative infinity. That is basically not defined. So we understood that if we move from 180 degree towards the 90 degree, the slope will decrease from 0 to negative infinity. Okay? So we got some observation here. We got the observation that is the slope from 0 degree to 90 degree is increasing from 0 to positive infinity. Okay? And slope from 180 degree to 90 degree is decreasing from 0 to negative infinity. Are you observing slope in the range of 0 degree to 90 degree are positive? All these slopes are positive, while the slope in the range of 90 degree to 180 degree are negative. Okay? Slope in the range of 0 to 90 will be positive and the slope in the range of 90 degree to 180 degree will be negative. Further, you can remember this concept like this. At 0 degree and 180 degree, the slope is 0. And at 90 degree, the slope is positive infinity and negative infinity. That is not defined. Okay? This you should know. So this is observation that we got from this fundamental. One interesting thing that you should know, all the lines moving in northeast direction are having the positive slope. All these lines are moving in northeast direction, so the slope of all these lines are positive. And also all the lines which are moving in northwest direction, the slope will be negative. Why? Because the inclination of the line moving toward northwest direction will range from 0 to 90 degree. And the inclination of the line moving toward the northwest direction will be in the range of 90 degree to 180 degree. So the slope in the first case will be positive and the slope in the second case will be negative. So by looking at the figure, now you can identify whether the slope is positive or the slope is negative. That is, you can identify the line is moving in northeast direction or the line is moving in the northwest direction. Okay. Also, by looking at the line, you can also compare the slope of the line. Whether out of the two lines, which line is having more slope or which line is having the lesser slope. Let's understand this concept one more time. This is a coordinate system. Let's move from 0 degree to 90 degree. The slope is increasing from 0 to positive infinity. 0, 1, 10, 100, it will move till positive infinity. Similarly, if we move from 180 degree towards a 90 degree, the slope will be negative. That is, slope will start from 0, then to -1, -10, -100, it will move till negative infinity. And at tan 90 degree, the slope is negative infinity as well as positive infinity, that is not defined. So by looking at the line, you can identify whether the slope of this line is larger or smaller as compared to the other line. For example, if we take these two lines, you can identify the slope of this line will be larger as compared to this line. Similarly, if we take the two lines with the negative slope, here also you can identify the line toward the 180 degree will be having more slope as compared to the line toward the 90 degree. Okay. Here -10 is larger as compared to -100. Okay. Don't be confused by the negative symbol. Okay. -10 is larger as compared to -100. So you got the mastery over the basics of the slope. Now by looking at the figure, you can compare the slope as well as you can tell the symbol of the slope, that is positive or negative. Let's check your mastery over this topic. So let's take a small quiz. The question is, out of these two lines, which is having the positive slope? Okay, so we got the line L1 is having the positive slope as this line is moving toward the northeast direction, and the line L2 is having the negative slope as it is moving toward the northwest direction. You can also check by drawing the angle theta, which is with respect to our positive x-axis and moving toward the anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so in the case of line L1, theta is in the range of 0 to 90, that is in the range of positive slope. And in the second case, theta is in the range of 90 to 180, that is with the negative slope. Okay, let's take next question. Out of these two lines, which is having the negative slope? You can identify the first line is having the positive slope and the second line is having the negative slope. Let's take one more question. Out of these two lines, which is having more slope? Okay, both of these lines are moving toward the northeast direction, means both of these lines are having the positive slope. And we know when theta range from 0 to 90, the slope increases from 0 to positive infinity. So the slope of line L1 will be smaller as compared to line L2. Okay, got it? Let's take the last question. Out of these two lines, which line is having the smaller slope? If you observe, both of these lines are coming in the range of theta, that is 90 to 180 degree. And we know in this range the slope is negative. So we can identify the line L1 is having lesser slope as compared to line L2. The line toward the 180 degree will be having larger slope as compared to the line toward the 90 degree. Hope you got this concept. Okay students, we have done with the basic introduction of the slope. That's it for this lecture. Thank you very much for being with Creata classes. Bye for now.